Usually on this channel when I'm reviewing laptops, I like to take a look at, more affordable options, trying out that perfect device that gives the balance of price to performance. But after a while it can get a bit exhausting and, well, I start to desire a change of pace. That is why this here is the Illegear Ares X, and I'm not going to try and lift it up too much. And I'm also not sure if I'm comfortable calling this device a laptop because of just how crazy it is in terms of size and specs. It's really more of a desktop replacement, and at a price point of 18.5 grand in ringgit, or nearly about 4,500 US dollars, it's certainly not for everyone. That said though, what kind of specs can you expect to find on a machine at this price, and is it any good? Well, stick around and find out as I get into a deep dive of the Illegear Ares X. So obviously someone who is getting this laptop is looking for the best of the best while still remaining somewhat portable with amazing compute power and just epic performance whether you're working or you're gaming. It's because of this that this configuration that I have here today comes with a desktop Intel Core i9-10900, which is a 10-core 20-thread part, and NVIDIA RTX 2080 Super with 8GB of GDDR6 VRAM, 128GB of total dual-channel memory, for 256 NVMe SSDs for a total of 1TB, a 17.3-inch IPS display that goes up all the way to 240Hz with G-Sync, Wi-Fi 6 capability, and a 97 Wh battery. The ODM for this laptop is Clevo, from whom you may know as they used to make Alienware laptops. This model is the X170SM-G, and it's officially beefier than my current personal desktop, and that's just insane. What is honestly equally as insane is the power brick for this guy, or should I say power bricks in plural, because you need not one, but two of these to push a total of 560 watts to even charge the laptop, and they're equally as thick individually at 1.05 kilogram for each brick, with both of them and the carrier that comes with it weighing in at 2.24 kilograms.
If you thought that was pretty heavy, then you know what? I hope you lift, bro, because this laptop weighs in at 4.68 kilograms, not the 3.8 listed on their website, and sizes in at 399mm wide, 319mm deep, and at its thickest point sits 5cm above the table, including the feet. So yeah, you can say, damn boy, he thick.
All that chunk and power doesn't mean much if the laptop can't keep it under control, so let's have a look inside of it, and it's easy enough. You just remove the battery first, then the 8 screws down the back and gently push the housing upwards. We can see that the Ares X employs some of the thickest heat pipes that I've ever seen in a laptop cooling solution, with a total of 9 of them, quad vents, 2 on the back and 2 on the sides, and 2 massive fans on both ends to eject the heat out. We also see the 2 sodium RAM slots here that make up for the first 64GB of RAM, and 4 slots for PCIe 3.0 and NVMe drives that are fully occupied. If we remove these 2 screws here, then use a long screwdriver to press into this hole, we can remove the keyboard, and hiding underneath that is 2 more sodium RAM slots that make up the remaining 64GB of 128GB of total RAM, and of course, the Wi-Fi chip is over on the right. After having taken a look inside, I feel a lot more confident in the cooling solution for this laptop, plus I do like that the battery is easily removable and replaceable. In terms of port selections, you have everything including the kitchen sink, aka the port selections are stacked and plentiful. You have a full-sized SD card reader, 2 USB 3.0 10GB Type A ports, and 2 3.5mm headphone and microphone combo jacks on the left, one of which supports optical SPDIF out, 2 USB 3.0 20GB Type C ports, one of which is capable of outputting at DisplayPort 1.4, and another USB 3.0 10GB Type A port on the right, and finally, down the back, a Type C Thunderbolt 3 port, 2 mini DisplayPort 1.4 ports, a full-sized HDMI port, an Ethernet port, and 2 charging ports, one for each power brick. To no obvious extent, the Ares X passes the one-handed lid opening test, because I mean, at this weight, if it failed, it's probably glued shut, and with the lid open we get a good look at that stunning 17.3-inch IPS display from AU Optronics that not only has a 72% NTSC color accuracy, but it's also 240Hz and G-Sync. It's not the best in terms of brightness for outdoor visibility, but it can get dark enough, and the colors are great thanks to Illegear's calibrations. The webcam has a little light that comes on whenever it's in use, so that's a nice privacy feature, and it's
honestly not too bad. It actually looks pretty good, and the video is, I think it's more than decent, and the microphone is actually pretty nice and clear as well, right? You can hear this. So overall, color me surprised. It's pretty good.
The keyboard is RGB, it's really nice to type on and has a really nice tactile response, but I found myself making a lot of mistakes when typing on this keyboard, and I think I figured out why. You see, despite being a larger 17-inch form factor, the keyboard on the Ares X is actually smaller than the one on my Raven SER, despite that laptop only being 15 inches. And this has caused me to hit the numlock key a number of times when I wanted to press backspace, and the up arrow key when I just want to press the right shift key. It's not a deal breaker, of course, it's definitely something that you have to get used to, but yeah, it's just a little bit annoying, at least for me. Another thing that did bother me, especially with longer typing sessions, was just how high the laptop was off the table, and that didn't really help much with ergonomics, as over time my wrists would press on the edge of the laptop and it would feel pretty uncomfortable. What isn't smaller though is the touchpad, where it's pretty big and wide. It's pretty nice to use, the left and right clicks have some really nice tactile response and feel, and it has a fingerprint scanner on the top left corner. Overall build of the laptop is mostly plastic except for maybe the top lid and the wrist rest area, which are both a bit prone to oil marks, and in terms of looks it's obviously got a bit of a gamery look, and honestly it doesn't feel like a laptop that costs 18.5 grand. And I don't necessarily mean that in a very good way, because this laptop, at least to me, just feels a bit generic and featureless, aside from maybe the RGB LED lighting at the bottom and at the rear of the laptop. But even then, that is kind of useless because there's almost zero occasion in which you'll actually see it. But hey, you know what? I'm pretty sure that anyone getting this laptop isn't exactly looking for the most beautiful laptop, but rather a top performer, which I think makes it a perfect segue to get into the laptop itself, where remember how I said that this laptop felt a bit generic? Yeah, you don't even get a boot logo on starting up the laptop. Instead, this style note thing, and even the software on the laptop itself is lacking any Illegear branding, which means that the only thing that you have to remind you that this is an Illegear laptop is the logo on the lid. While I'm normally quite adverse to companies slapping their logos everywhere, I'm not too sure if this is a good thing either. Anyway, let's get through the pre-installed software. There are a number of sub-applications, but Control Center 3.0 serves as the primary one, as you can launch the rest from here. You have fan speed setting, which has an anti-fan dust mode which ejects any dust buildup on the fans out of the vents by spinning in reverse, and this can be set to run on the computer startup and also on a schedule, which is kinda cool. You can chuck the fans into max here, or auto with offsets, or manually tune each CPU or GPU fan with their own fan curves. FlexiKey is where you'd set macros, and this is pretty cool as you can pretty much change your keyboard into anything you'd like, let's say different profiles for each game, and this affects the mouse as well. GPU overclocking is as it says, though you'd have to be plugged in and in performance mode to use it. LED keyboard setting is where you can set the per key RGB backlighting, customize the lighting pattern, and even turn off the RGB light bar around the laptop that I mentioned earlier. You can also switch the laptop's power profiles here, and I'll run through what each power profile changes in a bit later. Aside from those apps, you also have two audio apps, Sound Blaster Atlas and SXF5, where you can set equalizers, effects, virtual environments, and the such. Now let's come back to those power profiles. By default, the laptop is set to entertainment mode, which is like a balanced profile, but you have three others to choose from, like power saving, quiet, and performance. All of these profiles will tune the GPU, CPU, and fans of the laptop to different levels, so this is something that you might want to take note of. For the most part, I found that entertainment mode was really enough to draw out the performance of the laptop, but if you're looking for more power, then performance mode will run the Core i9-10900 at a higher PL1 and PL2 limit, and you can also overclock the GPU here if you want to. I ran Cinebench R20 on all the profiles, and on performance mode to not much surprise, it totally demolished my 3700X machine. What is interesting though is seeing the 4800H at 25 watt walk all over the 10900 at 30 watts. But I think that by now we all know just how awesome the Ryzen chips can be. In the Blender BMW benchmark test, again we can see the difference of running each power profile here, with the discrepancies being pretty big. Comparing the first few minutes of the benchmark and breaking them down, we can see that performance mode turbos, the longest, reaching all the way up to 4.2 GHz with no turbo at all in the power saving mode. Examining the power graph shows us the massive power spike in performance mode that goes up all the way to 180 watts, which if you remember is less than the maximum limit of 225 watts. This is of course not surprising at all because we're rocking a desktop chip in this laptop, and under performance mode, the laptop thermal throttled by hitting 95 degrees Celsius, but still this is a very good result because every other time the laptop managed to keep everything really cool. This is however only on a purely CPU load, so what about the GPU? Well, I benchmarked the RTX 2080 Super in this machine in my choice applications of Crytek's CryEngine Neo Noir Ray Tracing benchmark, where to no surprise, it overtook my 1080 Ti, and Unigine Superposition, where it also performed really well, taking top spots in my chart. There was very little thermal throttling or limiting happening, and we can even see that in power saving mode, the core clock was constant at 1560 MHz, but notice quiet mode, where after a while, the core clock suddenly dipped and hit 1560 with a few occasional spikes upwards. To not much surprise, because quiet mode doesn't quite spin up the fans, the GPU got really hot really fast and ended up thermal throttling when it hit its maximum of about 89 degrees Celsius. Because of that, I'm just going to straight up recommend that you stick to other profiles, because regardless, after a while, quiet mode is just going to thermal throttle and give you power saving like performance, except with a lot more heat. Which then begs to question, why does a quiet mode even need to exist? Surely the fan noise must be really loud. Well, based on my subjective opinion, honestly, I actually expected way more noise from the fans of this laptop, especially given the size, but dare I say, I've seriously encountered slimmer laptops that have sounded louder than this. Have a listen.
She is inside that demonic citadel. I will mark her location on your HUD.
I guess it's not much of a surprise that this laptop shouldn't be as loud, as because of the larger cooling solution and fans, they don't have to work as hard to cool the components down. This coolness also extends into gaming, where I played some Doom Eternal and some Insurgency Sandstorm on this laptop, and I've got to say guys, at no point did the laptop get hot, and I mean that more than a yeah, I can hear the fan spinning, but I can't feel the heat at all from the laptop. In fact, as you can see here, my hands are even hotter than the laptop. So yeah, aside from being super comfortable to game on for long hours, the high refresh rate G-Sync panel just meant that the entire time I didn't experience any screen tearing, and gameplay was super nice and smooth. Without a doubt, seriously, this may just be the best experience that I've had gaming, whether it's on a laptop or a desktop. If possible though, try not to game without plugging in a power source, not only because the battery probably won't last, but every game will be capped at 30 FPS. This is of course a safety feature that exists on most gaming laptops, as high loads on the battery can be pretty bad on it. The speaker system didn't disappoint either, as I found that the built-in speakers not only got sufficiently loud enough, but also sounded pretty decent with nice highs and some bass, meaning that my gaming in Sandstorm and in Doom Eternal didn't sound like a tinny mess. Finally, we get to the battery life section, and I know that this doesn't really mean much in a laptop that is meant to be more of a desktop replacement, but hey, in the event that you had to go out with this laptop and bring it around and use it, how long can you expect it to last? Well, in my usual repeatable workload of typing this review up on it on Google Docs and listening to some EDM on YouTube, the laptop lasted about 1 hour and 45 minutes. Honestly, not too bad for, a laptop like this, but it does have a 99 watt hour battery. So yeah. The other thing that you should take note of is that it takes longer to charge this laptop than it takes to discharge it. Alright, so let's bring things to a close with the Illegear Ares X, and honestly, it's a really great desktop replacement with a lot going for it and not a lot of flaws, if any at all. Sure, there's the price and it may not look and feel all that pretty, but if you are looking for one of the best gaming laptops that money can buy, then I'm not sure how much better you can get than this. I love the keyboard, I love the display, the processor is a beast, the graphics card is a beast, and it has so much room for expansion, it's got so much RAM, and yeah, it's just a crazy machine. And yeah, if you're looking to get one and you've got super deep pockets but just want the best, seriously, check out the Ares X, because I don't think you'd be disappointed at all. Anyway, that's it for this video. If you'd like to get one for yourself, then you can check out the links down in the description below, as I'll add one there. Do the usual YouTube thing of liking this video if you liked it, sharing it, dropping any comments down below. Consider subscribing to me if you're not already subscribed, and click the bell icon so that you don't miss any of the new videos that I push, that I upload as soon as they come out. Yeah, I don't know. My name is Yang the Tech Rodent, and well, this has been the most expensive laptop that I've ever handled. Yikes. I'll see you guys in the next video.